Thank you for confirming everything is working fine. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on BCA's AI adoption and value proposition. My name is Shamkrishna Shashindran, and I will be your moderator for today's session. And we are thrilled to have all you here as we are exploring the AI adoption, which can drive value creation. And we will be hearing from two incredible, accomplished experts in this field. So before getting started, as I've mentioned before, I would like to remind that we will be taking your questions throughout the session. So please feel to drop your questions in the Q&A in the activity session, and we will be addressing them during the end of the session. So before diving into today's section and discussion, let us quickly gauge where everyone is in their AI journey. So I will be launching my first poll for the day, and it is regarding the question is, where is your organization in its AI adoption journey? So we could see the response that most of them are just in the starting stage, and I think this session would be an incredible information for you. And let me introduce our first speaker of the day, Mr. Christoph Schwarzik. Mr. Schwarzik is a founding partner and managing director of Value Creation Alternative, where he leads a network of over 1,200 members dedicated for merger and acquisition, fundraising, strategy consulting, and digitalization. So his leadership has been an instrumental in securing significant business awards for the VCA, such as the Best Cooperative Advisory Firm for Funds, Best Online Strategy and Investment Advisory 2023 in the UK, and the Corporate Firm of the Year 2023 to 2024. He has also advised prestigious companies such as Credsus, NH Hotels, NYC Euronext, the London Metropolitan Police, Renault, Pan Bimbo, and Investec. He's also certified by the Malta Financial Services Authority, where he holds a MBA from IESC Business School and a master's in IT, and also an executive education certificate from Thank you for joining us, Mr. Schwarzik, for today's webinar. Our next speaker today is Mr. Eddie Short, a highly accomplished Chief Transformation Officer with a wealth of experience in driving large-scale transformation programs across the industry. Mr. Short is credited with coining the term intelligent enterprise, which describes the organization that strategically leverage the AI and data to drive superior business outcomes. His pioneering work in this field has been a pivotal in transforming businesses into AI-powered enterprises. Mr. Short is also a former partner at KPMG and an SVP at Capgemini. Also held key leadership positions at Mid Europa LLP, Telefonica, and Aon PLC. With over 100 million pounds of P&L experience and his ongoing doctoral program in business analytics, he's here to provide us with some deep insights into the power of AI adoption. I would like to welcome Mr. Short and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
So now, So now that we have introduced our speakers, so let us dive into today's discussion about AI adoption and how companies can gain a competitive advantage in today's fast evolving market. So to kick things off, I would like to ask Mr. Schwarzik, why do you see early AI adoption, which provides a competitive advantage for the companies?
Thank you, Shyam. This very morning, I was just reading on the press that consultancy firm Bain released a report on Wednesday predicting that the global AI market could reach $1 trillion by 2027. I mean, this is only 3 years away from today. So before addressing the question, allow me to clarify what we understand by AI adoption. In this webinar, we will not be focusing on fancy tools like Copilot or DALL-E that help with writing text or generating artificial images and videos. Instead, we will be talking about a major strategic shift, how organizations can embrace AI as a sustainable competitive advantage. The main reason why decision makers struggle with AI adoption is uncertainty and fear. In a fast-moving environment, nobody knows who the future winners will be, and nobody wants to bet on the losing horse. We're therefore seeing a lot of decision makers adopting a wait-and-see attitude, especially leaders from born analog companies. At Value Creation Alternative, we do not have a crystal ball either, and we do not know what is going to be the next winning technology. However, we know two things, and this is a key takeaway. First, AI is here to stay, and those who do not embrace the concept will be left behind. The second thing that we know is that in order to be ready to implement the winning solution that at some point will emerge, companies need to have data. And this is because all AI solutions are data-driven. And what will generate a real competitive advantage when everybody else has embraced AI will be your proprietary data. Knowing that in the future, your company will need to adopt AI, and knowing that you will need to have clean, reliable, and updated data to remain competitive, the question is then, when do you start? When do you start pulling together all the pieces of the jigsaw that will transform your company into a data-centric organization? And the answer is clear. Now. The earlier you start, the better. Because if you don't, you'll have to face two new forces. First, you might be disrupted by competitors who will adopt AI faster than you do. And second, your cyber risk increases exponentially with AI. There are countless examples of cyber attacks in the press involving AI-driven technologies, such as deepfakes, voice identity thefts, data leaks. Preparing your company for AI is not only about improving internal procedures, it is also about building a moat against external threats.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chris Shozik, for sharing your thoughts on early adoption of AI. I completely agree with your point that the companies that adopt AI early gain a significant competitive advantage. But there is always a curiosity of the challenges that organizations face. So moving on, like next slide, we will be talking about addressing about some of the common challenges organizations face in adopting AI. But before that, to get into that, we will be having a quick poll question for the audience. And the second question, it would be about what do you see as the biggest hurdle in adopting AI? So we could see from the response that there is a mixed, varied response, like lack of budget, skills gap, data qualities issues, and lack of leadership support. So to address about this, I would like to ask Mr. Short. So balancing accuracy and explainability that has been shown in the slide that in AI models is often a major challenge. So how can the organization strike the right balance, especially when the explainability is crucial for decision making? If you could provide an example of a company that has successfully overcome from this challenge, it would be very grateful.
Yeah, sure, Shyam. Yeah, I think the top 10 challenges are very valid, and a number of those were in their questions. Specifically to the one you've challenged me on about balancing effective accuracy and explainability. As I go with AI, often the devil is in the detail. And the challenge for a lot of senior leaders is they don't understand the models. Secondly, you have a number of suppliers who provide what I would call black box systems, where they can't give you their proprietary algorithms, which they won't share you how the models are. If you work in a regulated industry like banking, they are usually, as they would say, a red card. Regulators are very unhappy about having anything that is unexplainable. But you still, even even then, you have the challenge internally to explain people because they are complicated models. You train them with a lot of data to get to answers. And what you should be able to do there is explain to people some of the workflow and the decision rules that are taken to actually show people how you get to the answer. And the reality is, in my experience, for example, I was Chief Data Analytics Officer at Telefonica. We implemented a new, as they call it, omni-channel decisioning solution. Sounds like a very complicated thing, and it was, because we are trying to deliver the next best offer and next best action to our customers anytime, any place, anywhere, whether that's on their app, whether that's in store, because we had stores, whether it's on the web, whether it's on the phone. And you're intercepting what is the customer's position, what's the latest data you have on them. And the reality is, in the human situation, humans can't really cope with that because they're constantly trying to look at what's the latest we know about the customer. Oh dear, we've missed something, and customers want real time. But what you have to do with senior management is show them through scenarios what is the situation, what is the journey that the customer is on, what point is that, and then demonstrate what the output is from the model and lots of different scenarios. And when they recognize the output and recognize what the model is doing, then you have explainability. So repeatability, simplicity, and explainability is critical to show that you can rely on the model. And then with reality is you are trusting the model to do the same, or if not a better job than your human-based decision makers. And I think about this is actually, when does the model make all the decisions, and when do you defer off to human in the loop? And a human is involved in the process, again, a critical part of this journey. So that's what we did at Telefonica. And actually, after quite a lot of demonstrations, we had confidence from management, and we rolled out the solution.
Thank you, Mr. Short, for providing a valuable and also giving us that the nuanced approach that the organization has to take to strike the right balance. So moving forward, we will be talking about the successful of AI transformational program, the solutions and the buy-in fundamentals. And Mr. Short, so why securing a buy-in from C-suite is critical for starting AI projects?
So for me, this is the crux of the issue. The reality is AI cannot be treated as yet another tech bolt-on. And actually right now, I see 9 out of 10 organizations, what are you doing with AI? Oh yes, I passed it to my CIO or CTO to basically look at. This is not the case. We are really in a business of, and Christoph covers this up earlier, but transforming a business. I explain it like this. The big technology revolutions that we've been through in the last 30 years were all started through re-engineering the corporation by Hammer and Champney, a book in the late 80s. That kicked off the revolution of ERP, CRM, and modern systems. They talked about automating processes and obliterating processes. The reality is, for 30 years, we've basically done the automating of processes. What we are now doing is changing how we work. We are not just automating things. With what you see, even if you look at a GPT or other AI, you're often replacing a human, or actually replacing steps that you would actually go through. And with the example I just gave of Telefonica, customer journey is not a linear process activity. And so when we are talking about not just implementing technology, it's changing the way we work, the CEO must be bought in and understand that we are changing the operating model of the business. We're not changing the strategic vision of the business, but we are definitely fundamentally changing the way we execute that vision. And it will involve change of functions, change of operations, and hopefully very substantial return on investment. But it's changing the way we work in, and without that, without CEO buy-in to this, you will struggle. And in my experience, most organizations, without the CEO fully bought into what we're trying to do and what we're trying to do the organization, you will fail.
Thank you, Mr. Short, for emphasizing the importance of gaining C-suite support for the AI initiative. I completely agree with that. They need a strong backing from the senior leadership. And the next question I would like to ask Mr. Shozik. So after all these things, like how does the VCA ensure that effective coordination of all parties will be involved during the AI transformation process?
Yeah, first we need to understand that an AI adoption project will share 80% of the characteristics of any other transformational program. As a side note, if you are to hire consultants for your AI adoption, think about hiring consultants with transformational skills, because as I said, I mean, this is going to be the bulk of the skills required. So better a consultant with transformational background than only with AI background. Now, the main difference with traditional transformation program is that AI solutions are built on the so-called building blocks. Just to bring everybody on the same page, those building blocks can be solutions for machine vision, speech recognition, natural language processing, information processing, learning from data, planning and exploring agents, speech generation, navigating and movements when you involve IoT. With today's technology, programmers actually write very few lines of code. What they do not reinvent the wheel. They pull together existing building blocks as if it were a jigsaw exercise. In doing so, they need to collaborate with the suppliers of those building blocks. The same building blocks can be used by different companies. In fact, some of those building blocks are open sources. Still, every company will generate a different outcome because systems will be trained on a different set of data. And your proprietary data will be the source of your competitive advantage. When deploying AI solutions, collaboration is therefore key to embrace new technologies and new solutions while harnessing costs. At VCA, collaboration is part of our DNA. I will come back to this when we present our VCA ecosystem. Our probit AI adoption process consists in developing pilots. If one or several of those pilots prove successful, we're equipped to convert them into AI-driven startups to generate additional revenue streams, a process similar to corporate venturing. And we'll talk about the need for monetizing and generating benefits from AI in the next slide.
Thank you, Mr. Shozik, for providing us the information. And yes, I think most of us will be looking forward to hear how the VCA ecosystem works. So moving on, we'll be talking about how the managing of complexity and value is required. So now to Mr. Short, I would like to ask a question, like when we look at the complexity and value of AI implementation, it's clear that managing this balance is crucial for success. So from your experience, how can the organizations ensure that they are maximizing the value of AI while keeping the complexity under control?
Yeah, I think I touched on this earlier. By definition, AI is complex. And so that thing about explainability is really important. I think I also touched on the thing that this is not a tech bolt-on. This is about value creation. And we should not just consider this as a cost-saving initiative. Yes, there will be productivity improvements. I think that's, any of us who uses ChatGPT or Claude, your personal productivity is going up when you're writing a document. But what we are talking about is, I talked about earlier, obliteration of processes, significant change in activities, and to that point, we're not talking about the classic, I would call it, big consulting place of, let's take 20% out of the cost base. We are talking 50, 60% savings in a number of areas because we are obliterating processes, but we're also driving value creation. So as an example, a lot of organizations, easy example for everybody is contact centers. Contact centers are in many places, I would call them already dehumanized. They're lowest cost, especially since COVID. The usual excuse is we are very busy. You wait 30 minutes. The amount of lost time just actually even to get through. And then the humans are not very well informed. We can save lots of money. There are already examples of Klarna and in the UK, Octopus Energy, where to an extent they've gone for 80, 90, 95% removal of the humans in the loop and just leave a small VIP service, because the AI, which has knowledge of everything that we know about our customers, everything we know about our service, we can use that to deliver real-time better answers to our customers. They get the answer and they want, they get the questions responded in a timely fashion. And where there absolutely is a need to speak to a human, they're there and available. And what does that do? That not just leaves up cross-sell and upsell opportunities, it improves customer experience and dramatically reduces cost. So you need to think about where have we got real cost challenges, where have we got revenue improvement opportunities, and think about that growth mindset, because this is about step-changing performance. And yeah, we want to avoid doing a complete business transformation. So I said call centers. No, don't try and do end-to-end transformation of your business. Focused areas where you know you have challenge, and focused areas where you know you have customer touch points or real cost points that will drive high value. Good stuff. Oh, Shem, back to you.
Yep. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Short, for providing the information. And on this slide also, we could see the reference of four horsemen of apocalypse, which originates from the book of Revelation in the New Treatment, that symbolizes about conquest, war, famine, and death. So I would like to ask questions to Mr. Shortzeg. Could you explain why this analogy is relevant and how these horsemen impact the AI adoption process?
Yes, as I mentioned in the previous slide, an AI adoption program shares 80% of its characteristics with any other transformational program. They will all have an impact on HR, IT, compliance, and finance. The difference with the AI adoption program lays in the remaining 20%. And unfortunately, this 20% can be deadly for the company. Look at HR. Any transformational program will have an impact. You know, in every transformation program, people will fear the transformation. Some of them will be proactive and embrace the transformation with positiveness and willingness. Others will be resistant to change. In AI adoption, this is magnified by the uncertainty around the output of an AI solution. I'm referring here to the so-called AI hallucinations. AI hallucinations generate a lot of uncertainty and unease among the employees. This can cause an AI adoption program to derail. Look at the information system. Any transformational program will have an impact on the systems. With traditional IT transformational programs, you're typically buying a system or an application and implement it. For example, you can decide to implement SAP or Oracle. With SAP or Oracle, you know what you get and you can plan accordingly. In AI, we've already alluded to the complexity of selecting the right solution. We all know that there will be a market consolidation. Which one will be the winner? When it comes to the financial impact of AI, let me tell you, this is going to be substantial. What happens with AI is that upfront costs tend to be fairly contained because a lot of the building blocks that we mentioned earlier are open sources and therefore free. A lot of the initial data might be easy or relatively easy to generate as well. The challenge in AI is that the hidden cost lays in the maintenance of those data. Maintaining data is extremely time-consuming and therefore expensive. In most AI deployment programs, the amount of work for data ingestion, data curation, and data integration is understated. As a rule of thumb, launching a pilot and having a first feed of data may cost something less than 20%. Whereas just maintaining the data and retraining the application every time you have a new data, and when you scale up, I mean, this may account for 80% of the costs. And by the way, you need to scale up, to make this a profitable program. The recurring cost that generates from the scale up and from the maintenance can derail any AI program. And finally, compliance. Well, we've already talked about this issue of uncertainty, but we also have the issue with regulation. Governments are trying to understand what to do with AI. Mariano Draghi advocates for huge investments, hundreds of billions per year for better infrastructures and talent. But at the same time, Europe is over-regulated and they want more regulation. So we have a huge uncertainty, especially in some industries like legal or financial services, where we don't know if the application that we're going to develop or adopt will still be authorized in the future. And this is just a quick overview of how deadly AI can be for the organization. Hence the analogy with the 4 horsemen of apocalypse.
Thank you so much, Christophe, for giving us the insight. And moving forward, I just want to ask one more question in this slide where we can see that the term probit adoption. Can you please explain what is probit adoption and how it differs from the epidemic adoption?
Yes, we refer to epidemic adoption where a new technology spreads like a virus. Epidemic adoption tends to happen when the new technologies are very reliable and very appealing, the like of smartphones. In the case of AI, we recommend a probit adoption where the rate of adoption depends on the balance between benefits and costs. With AI, we need to be able to identify and address adverse outcomes like those so-called hallucinations. Probit adoption, therefore, consists in some sort of trial and error process. The term probit adoption refers to the use of the probit model, which is a type of regression used when the dependent variable is binary, meaning it takes only 2 values, typically 0, there will be no adoption, or 1, you would adopt it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Schwartzek, to provide us the difference between what is probit and epidemic adoption. So moving forward, let's quickly check in with the audience. We will be launching the 3rd question, poll question regarding which AI application do you believe will have the biggest impact on your industry? So from the response, we could see that it's a process transformation. So to talk more about this, we will be moving with the next slide that will be talking about the 3 pillars of value creation. So Mr. Schwartzek, could you explain how VCA's value proposition plays a major role in helping organizations to adopt AI?
Yeah, at VCA, we deliver superior results. To deliver superior results, we can rely on outstanding people. We are a network of more than 1,200 members with more than 35,000 contacts spanning across the 5 continents. We deploy state-of-the-art technology and cutting-edge information. We have a local presence and global reach and resources. Our daily audience, to visit our website, vc-alternative.com. If you want to move to the next slides, please, Shyam. This is our unique selling proposition, right? Collaboration is part of VCA's DNA. We are organized as an ecosystem. Our mission is to help companies find that missing piece to develop their business. In order to find that missing piece, we have pre-established relationship with suppliers, all sorts of suppliers, from consulting firms to investors, the like of venture capitalists, high net worth individuals, corporates, big organizations. We have more than 5,000 investors in our database. All those suppliers pulled together form our VCA ecosystem. The ecosystem is particularly well suited to help companies adopt AI because, as we mentioned in the previous slides, deploying AI requires collaboration with an array of suppliers to bring the so-called AI building blocks together. To lead AI transformation programs, we have formed a dream team of 10 seasoned professionals consisting of 4 business analysts, all holding an MBA, and Mr. Shore Eddie here on the call, finishing his doctorate in business administration. We have 5 scientists, all with 4 of them with a PhD degree, and 1 financier with a PhD degree as well. Our dream team coordinates a global network of universities, research centers, management consulting firms, team capacity enhancers, and venture builders. Adopting AI also requires financial resources, as we mentioned before, more financial resources than most initially think. Our unique selling proposition at VCA with regard to our main competitors, the Big Four, or other strategy consulting boutiques, is that we have secured licenses to provide regulated financial services. For example, we can help companies establish their headquarters in Malta to benefit from an effective corporate tax rate of 5%. It's 25% in the UK. We can help companies raise funding through the establishment of hedge funds. We also have the ability to take some companies to an IPO. We can do it on the NASDAQ, on Euronext. We manage a hedge funds platform called Action Blue to help would-be fund managers establish regulated funds in Malta. You can visit our hedge fund platform, Action Blue, at actionblue.eu. Action is spelled with an X. Our fundraising capabilities will be instrumental to help companies with their corporate venturing initiatives. Our idea is to convert their pilots, once proved successful, into startups and leverage our VCA fundraising ecosystem to finance the deployments of the startups. Now, do not get me wrong. We're still offering consulting services, and we will be charging our services based on time and material. We do not have resources to work pro bono for emerging startups looking for funding to develop themselves. Our clients are established companies that can afford to pay high-level consulting services. Now, talking about our collaborative structure, Sham, if you want to move to the next slide, please. Our collaborative structure allows us to pitch above our weight. In essence, we offer to collaborate with our clients and form mixed teams comprising people coming from the client's company, VCA members, and also from third-party suppliers. We're not a one-stop shop, the like of Accenture, who can staff projects with 100 people for 5 years. We are so much more flexible. We help our clients identify and coordinate a pool of suppliers and can swiftly swap one provider for another in case we would have chosen a losing horse.
Thank you, Mr. Shozik, to give us how the information about how the VCA ecosystem works. When we are moving forward, we can see that there will be a lot of common mistakes that the corporates make when adopting AI. So I would like to ask a question to Mr. Short. Based on your experience, which of these common mistakes do you think the most detrimental to successful AI adoption? Or have you seen any organization recover after making some of these mistakes? If so, how?
Yes, thanks, Sham. I think 1 and 2 are inextricably linked. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I see an awful lot of people and CEOs saying we delegated to CTO. They're looking at this. This is a change transformation. So yeah, technology is critical. As Christoph said, data is critical. But it's a transformation which requires CXO driving. It's actually, to that point, the technology, you've got to have it, but it's what you do with it that makes the real difference. I think there is a number 5, internal resistance, because you are changing things. This is a transformation, and people are, with most technology-driven initiatives in the past, is fear of lost jobs. For me, I'm very focused on pushing how we will improve the quality of the work, quality of the experience for employees, and that's a big thing of what we did at Telefonica. It's basically taking away some of the really dull, I would call them crappy tasks, which people really don't like doing. I mentioned the contact center scenario. People are not very enjoying repetitive, pointless, they would see pointless tasks where they can't improve it, and actually getting them involved in an agile scrum and looking at how we improve the targeting of the AI, what the messaging is, so they can actually see value-adding activity. So I think that is really the human part of this is really important. People are critical as well as data. So don't just delegate this to IT. They've got to be involved. Absolutely. And I think last but no means least, this kind of moonshots. We touched on this earlier. This is kind of we are talking transformation, but let's eat the elephant in small chunks. To use that example, and deliver real confidence and value in the journey. That's the way to make this thing a success.
Thank you, Mr. Short, for providing the valuable information regarding how the common mistakes can be overcome. Moving forward, we will be talking also about the intelligent enterprise and the 7 habits of intelligent enterprise. So, Mr. Short, as you have coined the term intelligent enterprise, what are the key characteristics that define an intelligent enterprise, and how the organization effectively transition towards becoming a data-driven and AI-powered?
Yeah, so this is all about basically use the Charles Darwin analogy. It's the most organizations that are the most adaptive to change. And this is my point earlier about obliterating processes. We have to be more dynamic, more agile, and you need insight, intelligence, data to drive that. I identified these 7 critical habits, borrowing from Stephen Covey of the 7 habits of the highly effective. This is the 7 habits of the highly effective organization. And number 1 is prioritize the customer. This sounds like an obvious thing, but when you actually look at a lot of these data intelligence type of initiatives, they're looking at finance, they might be looking at supply chain. Customer has to be number 1, because we are orientating and actually drawing enough information, insight about the customer, and using that to drive not just our experience when we engage with the customer, but our products and services. Mastering the external environment. This is also true, particularly, again, informing our decision making. We've all heard about black swan events and things outside, but when you hear about these big, large language models like GPT, they are driven by data from the internet. The internet knows an awful lot of things, and so you need to be harnessing that both to identify potentially those perturbations that could be impacting your environment, but also to help better inform the insight to drive your customers. Number 3 is developing a metric-driven, data-enabled business model. So think less about processes, but think more about the KPIs and measures you want to drive things. Think about the idea, this is the Amazon model. We have metrics, we all have KPIs. They're typically backward-looking. They say, what was our revenue last month, last week, last quarter? The reality is when you're truly data-enabled, the reporting you need to do should be just I would call it a byproduct of actually forward-looking metrics, which allow you to, because you are looking at what are the drivers of your business, what metrics will move the dial in your business next week, next month, next quarter, and the output of that will be also reported. So, but we need to understand the metrics. We need to and use that as data-driven, data-enabled to drive the business model. So what I would say is, how do you understand the business? It's the flow of information around the organization. It's actually very little to do with the processes. It's the flow of information. Actually, information drives the processes, and information provides the fuel for those processes, as well as with data providing the insight to drive decisions. So understand this is critical. You will be moving to a data-driven cloud architecture. And this is important because what we're happening with data and AI is we're gradually taking the processing logic out of your enterprise systems, your CRMs, your ERPs. As you build these models, we're not just large language, but machine learning models. We are taking decisioning out of those big systems, and they no longer, as I would call them, systems of record. They're processing, and they gradually shrink. This is not something that happens overnight. It's months and years. But what you actually need is microservices. The reality is our nice friends at SAP, Salesforce, Oracle charge you a ridiculous amount of money for, classically, you only use 20% of the functionality. And if you're using current cloud-based technology, that's great, but you're using the same version of Salesforce or SAP or Oracle that all your competitors are doing. So you get no competitive advantage from it. It's just like building. So you need to think about it. Yes, you're going to have to do the cloud, but really the brain of your business is your people and your data and your AI. Number five is governance and regulation. So we've touched on this already, but what I found in many organizations, and we talked about compliance. Compliance is really important, but I would say compliance, not just privacy by design, but compliance by design. If you look at what you need to be compliant with GDPR, but as an example, if you're working in financial services, you have many regulations. There's things like know your customer, treating customers fairly, consumer duty. There's a wonderful thing called BCBS 239 if you're a bank, which is kind of also, can you demonstrate to the regulator everything you've done to actually drive engagement with the customer? You put these things together, and all the data you actually need to meet regulatory requirements is the same data you need to actually cross-sell, upsell, and drive new products and services with your customers. And yet in most organizations, they are parallel universes. You add in ESG, and that's another parallel universe. What we find academically, and the research I've been doing, is the organization that can actually use data and analytics and AI to basically is at its heart is the one that can actually square the circle of people, planet, and profit. It can actually meet your commercial goals, your sustainability goals, and your regulatory goals. But that takes us to number 6. Data, AI, they don't deliver value in isolation. It's usually data and AI with marketing, with supply chain, with finance. Yes, people want to monetize data and sell it, but actually it's the 1 + 1 = 3, or even 1 + 1 = 5, which is the real value creation. So the leadership of this must be somebody who can work with and collaborate with the other functions. You put that all together, it forms a wheel. And this is kind of, I call it the wheel. There is an academic theory called resource-based theory, which is really how, if you think about Michael Porter's 5 forces, which is still the McKinsey-esque way of strategy, it's all about the external environment. Resource-based theory is how you build a capability that really differentiates yourself. And Amazon is a great example. Jeff Bezos in 2001 reinvented Amazon after the dot-com crash. He said, I want to be the world's best marketing company, and I will build a capability flywheel powered by data analytics and latterly AI, which will attract more customers to my site. With more customers, I will bring in more suppliers. The suppliers will then bring in more products, which will then in itself bring more customers. And as we bring more suppliers in, that brings more competition, which actually drives prices down, and we create a flywheel of success. Now, Amazon is much more than a marketing organization, but that was their raison d'etre to basically be a world-class marketing business. And what we talk about now is once you pull those together, you drive and spin your strategy faster with data and AI. And that is the intelligent enterprise. Sham.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Short, to give us the elaborate insights of how 7 of the key characteristics of defines an intelligent enterprise. So let's move forward. We are moving forward regarding the explains examples of the pain points that is suitable with the AI. So Mr. Shortzik, could you please provide the examples of how AI has solved real world business challenges such as improving customer satisfaction or addressing the corporate amnesia?
Yeah, one of the solutions that AI provides, I'm particularly fond of, is corporate amnesia. Corporate amnesia is the cost that companies suffer when employees leave. Thanks to AI, companies now have the ability to upload into a repository their company documents and use AI to ask the system questions similar to those that you would have asked a legal employee using your own words. The great advantage of AI over existing databases is that you do not need information on the response before phrasing the question. For example, knowing that Jay Ferguson is no longer with the company, ask the system which project he was involved between 2012 and 2015. With a traditional database, you would need to know at least the name of the project where he's been involved, or even worse, you may need the identity code the company or the database uses, to find the records.
And also, I would just like asking you is there any case study stories that was fascinating for you and that you would like to just elaborate about it, or just like share the case study stories with the audience?
Yeah, one of the cases that I like best is the telepizza case. I mean, this is a case where AI has been adopted by an analog company. We all know telepizza, right? They sell pizzas. It's a home delivery company in the fast food industry. Typical, traditional, analog business model. One day, the CEO decided to embrace AI and transform the organization, a top-down approach. They changed the mission from being a fast food company. They decided to transform into an e-business company, which happens to be delivering pizzas. Concretely, they launched 2 work streams. The first one was to adopt a predictive AI system that is already used by other e-commerce companies, the like of Amazon, and predict when a pizza will be ordered. Using historical data, they were able to tell the restaurant in advance that there is a very high probability that a pizza, for example, a 4-season pizza, will be ordered in the next hour. This enables the cook to start baking that 4-season pizza even before the order has been physically placed. Thanks to the system, they manage, to slash the time to delivery drastically. The second work stream was on the decision to deliver the pizza once the pizza has been prepared. Before implementing AI, that decision would be the responsibility of the manager. Now, they did a research on the customer satisfaction and found that customer satisfaction was up when the real pizza looked similar to the picture on the leaflet. Therefore, they used a repository of hundreds of good-looking pizzas and ran an image recognition AI-driven system to decide if a pizza looked good enough for delivery. Now, the decision to deliver a pizza is taken no longer by a human, but by an AI. This transformation, also very simple to convey, was not very well accepted by some of the restaurant managers who believed that AI was taking over some of their responsibilities. Hence the importance of having a top-down approach and having the backup of the CXOs, because some of the managers had to be let go. This example is a very good example that highlights that artificial intelligence is not only for born digital companies or a handful of elite sectors. It can apply to every business model, even those born analog companies whose decision maker have not yet sized the power of AI. So if you are working for a born analog company and do not know how AI can actually revolutionize your industry, reach out to us. We'll do some research and help you redefine your AI strategy.
And if I just very quickly, I know we're running out of time, I'll just give you a couple of examples from number 2 grocery retailer in Romania, Profi. So some of you may or may not have heard of Profi, but it's got 1,700 stores across Romania, full set of outlets, apart from big hypermarkets. But I was working with them over last year or so, basically on a digital transformation. And a couple of AI examples. One was in terms of their loyalty application. We were using AI with Microsoft to basically identify from the customer's basket and data to start to predict not just what they wanted, but then start to predict menus of products that would complement the things that they already bought. And that's also then saying, actually, based on this, we think you would like this recipe. And by the way, to meet this recipe, here are 5 other products that you would buy. And we will also give you a voucher to actually give you a discount if you buy these products. And by having some interesting menus, we are actually able to, within a short period, increase basket size by 50% and obviously absorb the voucher costs because we're already using vouchers for other things in terms of promotion. So actually a net profitability increase of 25% in terms of that offer. So really just predicting, making the whole thing more engaging. And another example, how you can say obliterate a process. So Profi wished to increase their market share of wine, and we diagnosed that their brand for wine was not something that customers were particularly excited about. Now, normally, if you want to do some rebranding, you would go to a marketing agency, maybe spend 8 weeks, maybe for a big organization in Romania, maybe it's 100K euros. Certainly in Western Europe, it's more like 250,000 euro. We did it in 1 week for 2,000 euro. And classically, it was a hothouse hackathon type exercise. We brought marketeers, digital people and technologists into an environment with ChatGPT and another design application called Midjourney, similar to Dolly, which is the ChatGPT version. 2 days, we came up with 100 different brand options. We chose one, which is Crama Semelior, which actually means countryside wine, into the kind of Romanian thing. And the next 2 days, we worked with Midjourney, and we got 10 brand designs. Nobody was happy specifically with any one of them completely. So day 5, we got a professional graphic designer in. That was the 2,000 euro. They took the best of Midjourney, and we got the design. Within 8 weeks, we had rolled that out across 1,500 stores and immediately getting uplift. So dramatic saving in time, cutting out a set of process activities, and speed to market really dramatically increased. So.
Thank you, Mr. Short and Shortzik, for giving us the information regarding the case study stories, which was very fascinating. So as we wrap up today's webinar, I would like to ask both Mr. Shortzik and Mr. Short that one final piece of advice would you like to give to the organization that are just starting their AI journey? So let us start with Mr. Short. So Mr. Short, what would be your closing statement?
I think for me, it's quite simple. This is business transformation. Over the next 3 to 5 years, AI, we are into a new industrial revolution. And this revolution is not taking 50 or 100 years, it's taking 5 to 10 years. And therefore, you have to think, how will my business future change? You won't know all the answers. To my point, it's that agile, adaptive, but you need to think about how are we going to move to a more agile, adaptive business, data-enabled, AI-powered, and then we can start to evolve as new things come on and adapt in real time. But this is not a technology initiative. This is completely changing your business initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Short. And Mr. Short's, what would be your closing statement?
Yeah, I'll be quick because I'm conscious of time. So as a closing statement, I would say, do not fear AI, but be concerned. If you're not starting adopting AI yet, you need to do so right now. If your company is still organized as a 20th century company where people drive processes and systems, start transforming it into a data-centric intelligent company as described by Mr. Short.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shortzik and Mr. Short, for this valuable session and providing us the one piece of advice that advice was really grateful. So there is one last poll question that we before we wind up the session. So the question is like, do you think your organization is ready for large-scale AI implementation? Okay, as we have retrieved the responses, it says no. So I think so you must be having a lot of questions regarding the same, and I've not received any questions regarding the session. So feel free to ask the questions. If you have any questions that is coming up later the session, you can just contact us through the vcalternative.com email IDs. And thank you to our incredible speakers and all of you attending today's webinar on VCA's AI adoption and value proposition. We hope you find the session very insightful and valuable as you embark on or continue your AI adoption journey. Please feel free to reach out if you have any more questions, and don't forget to stay connected with the VCA through LinkedIn, as I have pinned the message in the chat box with the VCA LinkedIn group and our website. And I hope you all had a great time and had a great session. So have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you, Shyam, for moderating this event.
Yep, thank you so much. You're welcome.
Yeah, great session. Thank you.